Welcome back to the Political Campaign Planner Learning Series. In this video, we're going to cover an introduction to the databases. In the first video, I did an introduction to the dashboards. It's kind of part one of part two. This is the part two to that series, where really we're introducing you to the Political Campaign Planner inside Notion, how the template works, how the all-in-one system works, and the different parts. So the first part, we covered all the different dashboards. And in the second part, this part, we're going to cover the databases. So inside Political Campaign Planner, you'll see this inbox-looking icon thing here. And you just click on that, and you'll see all the different databases. And again, if you just click here in the Campaign Planner databases, you'll get an explanation of exactly which databases are included in the planner and what type of information you put in those databases. So real quick, this is essentially what we're getting here. We get a task manager of databases. So basically, these are all called managers. And the task manager inside that has a task database, and the task database runs all of the tasks that you and your team will do. We have a finance manager, which runs all the finance databases. So if we click in here, you'll notice that there are 3 finance databases. Actually, I'm sorry, 4. You have a budget, where you put the campaign's budget. You have accounts, which are all the campaign accounts like bank accounts, credit card accounts, loans, things like that. You have the individual transactions. So anytime you make an income or you have income or there's an expense and you record those transactions, you can put those right into the database. And then they'll roll up and give you a balance for your accounts and also roll into your finance dashboard and show you your bank balances, your card balances, and also a summary of those transactions. It'll also help you look at the budget and what your expenses are versus your budget. And then finally, we have a table just for vendors. And the reason we kept that separate from contacts is so we can associate some of the financial transactions more cleanly and more easily with their own table. So you have a list of vendors. Also, vendors are kind of their own separate category in a campaign, right? I mean, you have donors with money coming in and you have vendors with money going out for the most part. And sometimes you want to contact those vendors. Like if you have a print vendor or you have a sign vendor and you want to get their information quickly, you don't have to kind of look through tables or sort tables in your regular contact database or even in your voter database. So we put them separately in a vendor database. We also have a contact manager here, and this is where we host a couple different databases. So for example, you have your contacts, you have your neighborhood party committees, right? So if you have if you're going for like an endorsement for a party, like you have a certain number of party committee people in your district, whether that be at the state or the local levels, you might have to go seek the endorsement of committee people in Democrats, Republicans, whoever, and you could put those people here. And the reason that's important, we'll get into this later when we start talking about votes, but this system will actually help you track votes among the people whom you need to receive endorsements from. So you can track them separately from your contact list, call them separately or mail them or however you're getting in touch with them. And then as you record support from them, that'll actually roll up into an overall dashboard for endorsements. We also have party committees. So sometimes you have party members, and then there's also committees. So for example, where I am in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, we have a state party. Underneath the state party, we have county parties, and then underneath the county, we have neighborhood party committees. And those party committees have members that endorse at different levels. So if you're running for a local office, you'll be endorsed by your local party committee. And those party committees do really helpful things sometimes. They count votes on election day. They help turn people out to go vote on election day. And a lot of times they'll staff the polling locations and give people, voters, information about you. So we like to track those here. And we have the ability in the Political Campaign Planner to track those party committees. Those are also organizations that hold events, a lot of events. So we're able to track the events, which is its own database down here too. We also have the ability to track organizations. So we have an organizational list, and this is if you're tracking PACs, right? Political action committees, maybe labor unions or other businesses, business groups, associations. Not only are these good groups to do endorsements, but they also will often be financial donors to your campaign. So we track those separately here, and we have the ability to track them and then roll them up into the dashboard view. We have a view of your team. So when we showed you that nice view of your team members over in the contact dashboard, this is where that is driven by. And we separate the team into its own database because you might have members of a team with sensitive information, for example, an employment contract. And if you're sharing the rest of the database or the political campaign planner with volunteers who might be downloading your guides and things like that, you might not want them to see some of the personal information about your team members. So we keep that in a separate database, which can be excluded from sharing. We have an inbox, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. We have Events Manager, which is your events database. And if you're using Notion Calendar, the database will sync to the calendar. You can also use a tool, and I'll explain some of these tools in a different video, that are services that create ICS files that can be used either in your Apple Calendar or Google Calendar or any other type of calendar that you might use. But you can track all of your events, whether they be internal or external events, and we could put them all in a calendar. And then we have a content manager, which has several different databases. For one, it has official positions. So as your campaign starts creating positions around certain issues, whether it be the economy or education or criminal justice, whatever that issue is, you can actually create an official statement or an official position. And everyone that has access to Notion will be able to see that official position so that you remain consistent whenever you're talking about that issue across everything that you do, whether it be the web, whether it be your messaging, your social media, your email, your website. And so we list that, and you can actually attach that position to other parts of the campaign. And we'll get into that when we talk about your creating official positions in a different video. We also have official branding, which is where you put your style guide, your colors, your hex code, your logos, and you can make that available to everybody who might want to use your stuff, including volunteers. And then, of course, we have a content database, and inside the content database, really all of the content goes in one database, but we pull out views for things like resources, email, social media, advertising, print collateral. So all that's contained within the content database, and you could track all of the campaign content that way. Then finally, we have a vote manager, and there's a couple different things within the vote manager, and this is really great. It lets you do so much. One, you could track all your municipalities. So whether you're running for an elected position in just one municipality, or if you're running for, say, a state legislative position where you might have 20 municipalities, you can track all of those municipalities. Now, within a municipality, you might have different districts. You might have smaller voting blocks, sometimes called voting districts. And you can put all of your districts in a table. You could also look at the voters in that district. Whether you have voting software or not, you can track it here. But you could put all of the voters, registered voters by party, into those district lists, and then you could start running calculations as to your vote get goals. Basically, these are your goals that you need to get a certain number of votes in each district until you get to the majority, or whatever the vote majority that would win in your case. And I have blog posts about how to calculate that for your race. But when you put together your goals, you put that into this spreadsheet, and it'll track how you're actually doing, your real or likely vote goals, your real or likely vote counts, and roll that up against your vote goals. And you'll see how many votes you need to get in each precinct, which is really the best way to do it. You also have endorsements tab here, and this is a database where you can keep endorsements, where people basically endorse you and say that you're their pick for elected office. You can track all of that in one location, along with images, social media posts you might use for them. We have the ability to actually create a voter database within this file, although I do put a caveat here. As you start to get into bigger districts, you could have thousands, and in some cases millions of voters, like at the state level. It's not a great place to put that in Notion. If you want to run, say, a database with millions of records, Notion's probably not going to be that for you. And I list here several different tools that are used by the big parties. Now, these tools can get quite expensive, but as your database of voters gets bigger, you really should pull that out of Notion and put that into a real piece of software, real database, real voter database. And I list a couple places you can go to find that. But if you're just dealing with a couple hundred voters, you can put that stuff right into Notion and manage your votes as you talk to those people, and it'll roll that up against your vote get goals. And then finally, we have a database full of polling locations. So as you have polling locations added in your district, you could track those locations, put them on a database, and look at them when you need to turn people out to vote. So those are all the different databases in the system, and you'll notice the databases are all listed in red, whereas the dashboards are all listed in blue, and underneath the dashboards you'll see green views, right? So blue are the dashboards, green are the views, which provide a window in your dashboard to the data, and then the actual data are kept in databases, which are the red icon items here. So that's a quick overview of databases and where all the data is put. And just real quick, I'll show you, for example, a task database. So you'll see the data gets entered into tables like this. And we'll cover more of this in the next video, which will be a little bit more detail into how we enter data into and how we edit data inside databases in the political campaign planner system. So join us for that third video, and we'll see you there.